Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. Welcome to Connect Africa. By now, we should say to our daily session with Kwame Gonza. Here we are, for the fifth day of the week, and every day we are here. So on this one, we're gonna go on our tour. What's happening in the globe that matters to Africa. So we're gonna go to the US and look at exactly to be precise on Joe Biden. Is he calling it off or what? And then we're gonna look at also on the CSO summit, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and of course in depth with what really matters for Africa. So that's how it has always been. So those two things, talking about Joe Biden and the CSO, will give us a background for us for what Kwame gonna touch at last on what matters for Africa, what place in Africa can take from this. Without further ado, welcome Kwame.
Thank you, Mahlet, and greetings to everyone who's been watching Connect Africa and who has been stuck with us since the beginning of the week. A lot of people have been part of this channel, and we appreciate you all. We will not mention one by one the names, but we just want to show you also that we appreciate you being part of the channel and you know it's a great journey and we want you to be part of this journey. Of course, that is why we invite you to bring other people to subscribe, share the channel with other people, and then like what you are watching. This is very important for the algorithm to recommend what we are doing to serve our people and the continent, and conscientize our people, because this is part of that struggle that we are engaging in when it comes to the defeating of neo-colonialism and imperialism altogether, because this struggle is on many levels in the media, in the narratives. You have seen them in the past, that Ethiopia has to mobilize, countries like Ethiopia had to mobilize their media space and the narrative just to change the narrative which was directed to it to defeat it. So the narrative is part of that struggle, even though some people may not know it, may think that it is a small thing, but it is narrative to destroy Iraq. It is narrative which was used to destroy Libya. It is these narratives, okay? It is narratives which are being used to the Palestinians, all right, and give Israel weapons. So it is very, very important for us as Africans also to put out our narrative. And of course, this narrative can only stick if you, the people who are watching, support it, and of course share it. You spread it. You have to spread it because that is the only way we can get into the minds of our people and be able to also and contribute as well to the liberation of our people, our continent, and our resources. Because all these narratives are nothing. It is a struggle for resources. Even though we look at different forms of warfare, including narrative and financial warfare, IMF, but all this is a struggle for the control of the resources of the African continent by these external forces. So that let that sink in the mind of everyone. So with that being said, thank you so much. And as Mallet has mentioned, we want to look at Joe Biden. The presidential race in the United States is heating up. Some people have been saying Joe Biden is gonna, resign. He's gonna throw in the towel because Trump is ahead of him. Other people are saying, "Oh, he's still in the race. He can still go on. He can still run." So these are the things we want to deliberate on. And of course, the Shanghai, cooperation organization is also happening. President Putin, President Putin and Xi Jinping in Kazakhstan, whereby the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which brings together countries, India, Russia, China, and others. These are the big players in there. They're meeting and discussing, of course, the future of the world. And of course, according to them, the a multipolar world is being, consolidated according to them. So these are the things that we want to scrutinize and understand how do they affect Africa really, as Malit has mentioned, because our interest, of course, for us is nothing else but Africa, because we want to defend our continent first. So whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever suggestions we make, whatever tweet we do, and whatever like you yourself do, and the watching and the support of the channel is contributing to that process of liberating and defending the African continent and the African people all across the globe. So do not take it lightly that you are part of this journey and part of this process. So we thank you very much, and back to you, Malit.
So, okay, so as our topic is for today, as you might have seen it, will the old man Joe Biden cling to power or step down as Russia and China consolidate relationship at this Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Kazakhstan? So, like, there are three things, but we're gonna unpack it for you, and you will see how the dots are connected there, because that title is really too much information in it. But and you might ask, how is it related? So let's go. The first we will look at on Joe Biden. So things have not been really well for Joe Biden. The 81 years old, he has been falling down. Really. My personal opinion, it's embarrassing. I don't know why America is allowing this to happen. And also the terms of approval rating and trust in his ability, I mean, mentally or physically, to run the country has been going down. And with this, him running for second term, now also the poor performance is what is mentioned now during this presidential debate, where he was trampled by Trump. Now, Kwame, what are we seeing? Here, is it someone who wants to cling to power? I mean, why so desperately?
Thank you, Malit. I think that this this has to do with the United States political system, and especially when it comes to political powers. The political power held by political parties, that whenever they are in power, it is their turn to be in power. Like the Democrats, they would want to cling onto that power. So regardless of the condition of the person, you see that as much as possible to have the person stay. So this is what we are experiencing. So all these scenarios that we are seeing, which look like embarrassing even before the world, that Biden has been falling down, when he's getting off the plane, when he's riding the bicycle, and he's giving speeches. He looks like his mental capabilities have deteriorated greatly. But all these, there are calculations within the Democratic Party itself, that they want to stay in power. They're calculating how to stay in power. But also, there's another thing which we noticed recently after the performance at the first debate in which he debated Trump, because they say that he performed horribly. And of course, we have done an analysis on this. The performance was horrible, and the person who came to the debate with just he was just slightly behind Trump. The lead actually now increased, because I think he was around. Trump was around, his approval rating was at around 48%, and Biden was at 45. But by the end of the debate, Biden had fallen behind 3, and the Trump had increased actually to 49. Was at 45%, and Trump was around 48. But at the end, we saw that Biden had dropped from 45 to 43, and Trump had increased, to 49. So, which is interesting. witnessed also is that the family of President Biden, especially his son and his wife, because this is a matter of prestige for them. So they have been having a contention with the Democratic Party, also, which is a little bit confused and is arguing whether to leave him in the race or to substitute him. And there has been even talks of bringing Barack Obama, Michelle Obama. Other people have been talking about Kamala Harris to step in to take over because of how his approval rating before the public, even before the young people, is dropping. So, but of course, it is all politics for the United. Now, what we are witnessing also within the Democratic Party, of course, is that uh, they want to appear as the new Republicans. And of course, we know the Republicans are becoming a little bit more in their approach, that when you look at people like Trump, now they look at him as somebody who doesn't play by the rules. So you can say that the Republicans have become fascist and the Democrats have become the new Republicans, simply because now they want to look like they are more warlike. Okay, when it comes to dealing with, for example, immigration, when it comes to dealing with the situation in the Middle East and all this. And we have seen moves that he's been adding more and more money and weapons to Ukraine, adding more and more weapons to Israel in its war against the people in Gaza. So I think that it is all calculations for the Democrats to stay on top of the situation. But it is just for us to watch what will go on and what will come out, at the end of the day.
Muted. So, we have not had time to look at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which just happened. Which happened in Kazakhstan. Now, what happened there looks like China and Russia are meeting for a second time in less than a month, right? They were also there during, the Ukraine Russia. Putin was in China, the Ukraine summit. I mean, in Switzerland. Now, is this some sort of consolidation of their relationship? What is going on?
With what is going on in the world today, I think uh, looking at the Ukraine, that Russia has been gaining huge ground. I think that Russia looks at this summit, especially with the fact that President Putin has just come out of a visit, to Vietnam, and also he visited China. So I see this as, a demonstration by President Putin to show the world, is demonstrating to the world that he's not isolated, as the West has been saying, because he's been visiting Africa, he's been visiting North Korea, he's been visiting Vietnam, he visited China recently. So clearly, I think he's trying to debunk the narrative by the West, which they have been spreading, that Russia is really isolated, because they have worked very hard to do that. And on the other side also, we see, and of course, which I've already spoken about, that they are winning the war in Ukraine. All right, they have been gaining more ground and taking more territory from Ukraine. We see China also on the other side is growing at 5% the first quarter, the second quarter, and also, is growing more than expected in the first quarter, from January up to around April. The West was saying that China is declining, its industry is declining, but we are seeing that their industry is doing very well now, that they are advancing towards modernizing their economy. When you look at the automobile industry, when you look at the renewable energy industry, they are exporting. Actually, their exports have grown tremendously. And if you look at even the data, you can see that their exports have grown much more when it comes to the global south, trading with the global south. So this is very important for them to consolidate actually those gains which they have made both in Ukraine, and the gains which China has made when it comes to export and and trade and its economy, that it is doing very well, doing much more better than what they were saying, that it is declining, it is contracting, it is in problems. We are instead seeing that it is the West which is having huge problems. And these huge problems are reflected in what we are seeing coming out of the elections, that incumbents are being dropped. You can see what happened in Britain recently, that the sitting prime minister Rishi Sunak was dropped. You can see Macron is also lost the elections. So you can see huge victory. Macron's party also lost. So you can see that right-wing politicians are making, and there is even speculation that Trump also may win in the United States. It is likely that he may win the elections. So these, I believe that there are huge gains which they are, consolidating, which Russia and China are consolidating, and all of them, they are due to the mistakes, which of course, the West is making. They are making huge mistakes. Increase. Russia right now has become a high-income country. Data, and yet European countries are suffering, and they are the ones imposing sanctions. Russia is the one suffering the sanctions, but its country has attained a high income status, country, yet it is at war and then it is under sanctions. The countries which are not under war and they are imposing the sanctions, their economies are suffering. So it shows as if the imposing of sanctions now is having a negative effect on the countries which impose the sanctions, which is the Western countries. So, and the other thing one would say is that maybe they are sort of victory lap. They are taking some sort of victory lap because they have achieved the objective. If you remember President Putin's visit to Moscow a time ago, I think it was last year or this year, President Xi Jinping, when he visited Moscow, he mentioned that they are driving changes in the world which I've never seen before, in 100 years. So you can say that they are consolidating or taking a victory lap of those changes which they are driving, of making sure that the world achieves a multipolar world from a unipolar world, which was, run by the West, led by the United States and its imperialism and colonialism and hegemony and arrogance. You can talk of the arrogance. It also, one can say also that this shows that Russia is, as I've mentioned, is not isolated. That one I've already, spoken about it, and also maybe also that the global South has really made huge gains. You can say that the global South has made huge gains because the global South has been able to support and offset the trade, because China has made so much inroads global South, in the United States and the West, which China used to trade very much with. They have put a lot of sanctions. Okay, they have put a lot of sanctions on Russia, and they have put a lot of sanctions and restrictions on China. But you can see that these countries are trading much more with the global South, of which, of course, Africa is part of. So if Africa is part of this global South, it shows that the global South now has become much more self-sustaining in that sense. So this means, of course, good things to come. Good things are to come for the whole global South. That even without the West's technology or finance backing, the global South can still stand alone and support itself. And of course, this is shown in the growth that is happening and the better economy that is working out for Russia and China.
Thank you, Kwame, for that. Now, coming back to our own, that means to Africa, then now, does this mean with all what's happening with the election in the US, Biden versus, the right wing or the Republicans, Trump and China and Russia strengthening their relationship and in general the global South? Now, where does this mean we Africans uh, also should start looking at ourselves differently following this gain in importance of global South, or should just Africa follow this BRICS thing? Hopefully, it will work out, and how Africa should position herself.
Yeah, so I think definitely if China is making progress, because remember, you have to remember that gain against imperialism is good for the South. All right.
Yeah.
If you look at the period of liberation, the period of independence that you saw India gaining. Actually, it was Haiti. Haiti first gained, and Haiti is the one who brought the understanding that imperialism actually can be defeated by to the whole world. It was Haiti. It was Africans in Haiti who opened that understanding to the rest of the world. And then in the 1940s, India also gained its independence from Britain and fought against Britain. And then, of course, China, 1949, was able to expel others. So the rise of the Soviet Union, and it helped a lot. So every self-determination, every success in self-determination weakens imperialism. All right. If there is success within China technologically in all these areas, which of course, the United States is fighting so hard to limit the technology which China can get its hands on, including semiconductors and aircraft manufacturing and automobile manufacturing. So they are fighting so hard to limit that technology from falling into the hands of the global South, because this is what gives them their and domination and ability, to South. All right. So, and of course, financial infrastructure, as you have seen, that they remove you from their financial infrastructure, like what they did to Zimbabwe, they did to Russia, and this gives them a lot of power. But if the global South is able to build its own infrastructure, and of course with the leadership of China, yeah, and then Russia, then that means we Africans also have to start looking at ourselves in a different way, that we have, capabilities, and not because Russian and Indian and China are winning, but of course we have also been achieving, a lot of, important things in the past. So we have to start. It means that we also have to start asserting ourselves, because if we don't, then our territory will remain the only place that is dominated. We remain the only people dominated on planet Earth. And if we don't do it also, it means that even if Russia and China wanted to help us, they cannot help people who are always submitting themselves, who are always compromising their interests. So we have to assert ourselves as Africans. We have to speak, with confidence. Okay, we have to study. It's very important that we have to study, because we are in the information age, especially which has come up. The same information which an American has today is the same information which we have as a people. So there's no excuse that we should not match them. There's no excuse. We have to be able to match them, boot for boot, neck to neck. Intellectually, we have to be very sharp, so that we can reason, we can put up our narrative, we can reason on anything, whether it's technology, whether it's politics. Okay, so then us to regain our dignity as a people. Okay, so then we will slowly, chip away all that, humiliation. We will slowly, break that humiliation which was imposed on us 600 years ago, and they have continued on to practice it. They have continued to push us down. But in all, it depends on us that we have to stand up and and be counted, our rightful place. It also means these victories which we are seeing China and Russia gain and consolidate, and of course together with India and in the whole BRICS, means that we have to work very hard, especially we on the continent, to see that puppets on the continent. Okay, because it is not enough for us to stand up and just make noise, but we have to work studiously hard, because these opportunities, like President Xi Jinping said, they come only once in 100 years. So all the groups and people who are masquerading on the continent and they are calling themselves leaders, to identify the puppets and remove them from the continent. But like I said, everything comes from that feeling of confidence, because if we don't study, and we will not get confidence within ourselves that we can do these things, all right, that we can make independent economic policies, we can have independence in the independent industrial policies. So if we don't do that, then we will continue to go around the world, you know, disgracing ourselves. All right. But what we have to do is that we have to be confident that we can be able to mold our own, industrial policies, our own economic policies, and anyone who doesn't agree with this kind of outlook, that we should also start having our own way of looking at the world. There's no reason why we should go to the IMF. There's no reason why we should go to the World Bank to beg for money. Why should we do that when we have these countries like we saw yesterday? The United States is more indebted than the whole African continent. So why are we going to the United States? Money for what reason? So it means that the issue is not about being indebtedness, but the issue is something else that is not being said. So these are the things which I think we have to be confident enough and speak about, and also fight to be able to remove the people who are putting us in this kind of situation, and that means our very own African heads of state who are putting us in this kind of situations. We have, like the people in Kenya, what they have done, they have shown the way that this thing can be fought. This domination, imperialistic domination against the African people should be fought. We should not just say, oh, it is normal for us. We can't do anything about it. So I think that this is the very important lesson that we can learn from the events that are going on, going on across the world. Us to understand the world in which we are living. It helps us to understand that the United States has a huge problem, when it comes to its politics, but also its economy. We have seen people homeless in California, and there's chaos. Of course, these Biden, it shows that this political system is not perfect in the US as they have been presenting it to us. That it sometimes also gets crisis. Okay, their political system gets a crisis, and they don't know how to solve crisis. So I think that this is the significance of this. And just to repeat it, what I said, one of the things I said is that these moments, they happen only once in 100 years. So as Africans, the next generation of leaders, we have to take it seriously. And we have to take it seriously through our actions, and then, of course, studying, and then actions, and purposeful actions towards the liberation of the continent and its unification.
Yeah, thank you very much. Important message. Study is what is really we are lacking. That's why they are dumping a lot of propaganda, knowing that the fact is out there, because we don't read, we don't study our own, not only history, but contemporarily what's happening. I think that's it. We have, finalized what we wanted to bring you for today. Thank you, Mohammed Musa Ali and Imhotep, who was here even before us. We see you. Thank you again. And child of God, a lot of comments here. One thing that surprised me is that, like Obama grew up together with the Bush family. That's new. Did you know, Kwame?
It did what?
He grew up with the Bush family, like they are related. Something.
Yeah, so I don't have very solid information on that. What I know is that Obama, they have a very close relationship with the Bush family, and you could see that even
Yeah,
during the inauguration of
yeah. Or even
of
funeral.
President Obama when he became the president in 2008, and all the way through they had a close relationship, even though everyone almost hated Bush. Almost everyone hated George Bush. The Obama family was embracing Bush and calling him, someone who served his country, even though he destroyed the lives of many people across the world. Yeah, so that is the only thing I know, that they have a close relationship. Obama's family and the George Bush family, maybe because they are the ruling, elite.
Okay, anyway, we will search on it. That's why we say we also learn from you, guys. So his stepdad was the guy who did the genocide in Indonesia. That's why he was there. Well, okay, it's all new, but we will do our reading. We will do our homework. Hello, Muhammad Abdullahi. So, thank you all for rooting in, and we'll see you again on another program tomorrow at the same time here, 7 p.m. Ghana time, 9 p.m. Central European time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And West African time, Central African time is 8 p.m. I think. Thank you, and it's a bye bye from us. Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you, Mallet.